was a well-known whale trainer in SeaWorld, and he was known for doing dangerous and stupid stunts with the whales. So one time, he decided to walk over to the whale and, as you can see, stick his entire head into the whale's mouth. So a bystander wanted to take a picture, obviously, and the flash actually stunned the whale. So the whale clamped his mouth down on his head. It wouldn't let him go. And then after a little bit of a struggle, the whale finally opened his mouth, and Bob was okay, but he had lacerations to his head and neck. So today I'm going to talk to you about why zoos and aquariums should all be closed. Everyone in here knows what a zoo and aquarium is. 9 of you actually said that you have been to one or the other. So I want you to imagine all of us being cooped up in this room for our entire life. People would come by each day, throw food in at us, and then other people would walk by and just observe what we were doing. First, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the background of zoos and why they were created. Second, I'm going to talk to you why they should be banned. And third, I'm going to talk to you about some of the counter arguments that people make. So the first zoo was actually created in 1793 in Paris, France. And the first aquarium was built in 1853 in London, England. And they were both made for scientific studies. People wanted to be able to study the behaviors of the animals in a natural environment. And it was never intended for the public to be able to come in and observe them. So SeaWorld actually opened in 1964, and since then there have been 6 killer whale attacks. The first being Bob Shepherd, second Don Brancho, who actually passed away from the accident, Jonathan Smith, John Seelick, Ken Peters, and Daniel Dukes, who also passed away from the whale attacking. Some negative aspects. There have been numerous attacks on people from the zoo animals and the aquarium animals. So one example is Nyanga the lion. She actually escaped her exhibit and got into a tunnel and attacked the worker that was supposed to be feeding her. Nyanga the lion actually bit through the worker's neck in an instant. She was dead. Here are some more examples of circumstances leading to attacks by the animals. As you can see, there's examples as like the keeper forgets to lock the door, people touch them without authorization, maybe the zoo people are moving the animal to a different exhibit, and then you can see on the pie chart the different percentages of those attacks. Another negative aspect are that animals are dying from being inside the zoo. So one example was a man. He was not all that correct in the head. He went into the zoo late at night and let numerous animals out of the zoo, and he actually ended up killing himself after he let them out so that the animals would have him to feed on. So the police found these animals obviously like mangling his corpse, and they decided to kill all the animals in sight. And then they went out to go hunt and killed all of the animals that they could find that weren't supposed to be out. So this was called the Zanesville Massacre. It actually happened in Zanesville, Ohio. There was 2 wolves, 2 grizzly bears, 18 tigers, 17 lions, 6 black bears, 3 mountain lions, and 2 monkeys killed in the Zanesville Massacre. Another negative aspect, the living conditions are not normal for these animals. There was an example of an aquarium who had a parasite in their tank, and so they decided to put medicine in that tank, but the medicine actually had an allergic reaction to every single animal in that tank and killed over 100 animals. A lot of times in like lion exhibits, they will like disguise a concrete barrier as like trees or like vines so that the animal feels more at home. And there was an instance where a lion was chasing another lion, and he actually tried to run through the vines that he saw, but he ended up breaking his neck because he hit the concrete barrier so hard. And then lastly, there are a lot of unwanted animals that end up just being euthanized. There is a story in the Zoo of Copenhagen where there was an unwanted giraffe, and other zoos had made offers to take that giraffe into their zoo, but the Copenhagen Zoo said no, and so they decided to euthanize him, skin him, and chop him up and feed him to the lions. And that was actually during when the zoo was open, so adults and children were visually watching this lion or this giraffe being skinned and fed to the lions. So there are a lot of counter arguments made. One is that the lifespans are longer when in captivity, and this is true. The normal lifespan for a lion can be up to 15 years in the wild, but in captivity it can be up to 30 years. But this is not a good reason to say that zoos should be open, because the quality of life is diminished for those lions. They don't get to hunt like they normally would, and they don't get to live in natural environments. Another claim that people made is that endangered species can be saved. And again, this is true. However, expert Vaisali Kontamineni, the author of Our Green Planet, quotes, "More than half the animals zoos exhibit are not endangered at all." So more than half the animals in the zoos that we are visiting aren't actually endangered, they're just there to be there and on display. Another topic that they say is educational for kids and adults. This is not true at all, because the animals are not behaving naturally as if they would in the wild. So the behavior that's being observed in a zoo is not even close to what they would be doing in the wild. And Dr. Lori Marino, lead author of Do Zoos and Aquariums Promote Attitude Change in Visitors, quotes and says, "There's no compelling evidence to date that zoos and aquariums promote attitude changes, educational, or interest in conservation in their visitors." So overall, the negatives outweigh the positives by a lot, and more animals are actually being killed than they are being saved in these zoos. And they're open for the wrong reasons. So that is why zoos and aquariums should be closed. Are there any questions?
Did you see what kind of not natural behaviors? Like, did you see any examples? Because I know we'll go like to the lion exhibit, and the lion's just walking back and forth pacing.
Right.
And I assume that's not what they would be doing in wild. Does that have like a negative psychological effect on them too?
I did read stuff about they're not acting like psychologically correct because they are in a confined area and their stress level is increased because of them not having like room to roam. So the natural behaviors that I was talking about, most lions don't just like lay down and watch people all day. They want to like be out roaming, chasing other animals, hunting for food and stuff like that. So it's not really a natural environment for them. Yeah.
Did you find a difference between like animals that were born into captivity rather than ones that were like captured and brought to the zoo?
I did not see anything about that. I just saw that the ones in captivity right now have psychological issues and are not being treated the way they should be.
So this is kind of like off, but like the zoos like around here, like the Fort Wayne Zoo, do you know what they do with the animals in the winter and like what effect that has on animals?
I researched and saw that they usually keep them in like a huge like barn area, almost like a storage unit, and their cages are actually just like metal bars, almost like a dog cage for each animal, but like to the size of what they are. So in there, it's even worse. There's not even like trees or grass or anything for them. They're literally just stuck in there.
So, didn't you think that at some point it is saving the life of animals, meaning that there actually some animals feed themselves from animals, and the zoo is just keeping them apart, you know,
Yeah.
to save both species?
Yeah, I do believe some zoos have saved animals. However, most of them are not even they're not in need of being saved, if that makes sense. Like I said, more than half the animals zoos exhibits are not even endangered, so they don't really have a reason to be saved yet. But I do believe that some have saved endangered species.
So this year, I don't know if it's happened in years before, but kind of going off of the winter thing, I know at the Indy Museum, they had it so that you could come during the winter and see the animals, and me and a few of my friends actually went and did that. And they had a bunch of the big cats out in their enclosures or whatever. And I was just wondering if you thought that would have a negative impact on them, since they're not used to the colder weather here, because their natural habitats would be in warmer weather.
Right. I do think it has an effect, mainly just because of the environment shift, because they are being brought from an outside environment to inside and then put on display inside. And it's just the atmosphere change and the environment change that has a bad effect on them. But I do believe that some zoo, in their like their storage unit, I guess. They do try to make it like warm enough to where it would be like where African lions are from, but obviously it's not like the actual true environment.
I was wondering, did you like find any information about zoos or aquariums that like do beneficial things? Because like my brother and I, we always go to Shedd Aquarium in Chicago for my birthday every year, and it's like to me it looks like they take really good care of their animals, and they are like really big activists about water pollution, and like they have huge statues of like plastic they found in oceans that they make these like disgusting looking statues out of just to scare you about water pollution. And, like they do their part, and they played a big role about like saving the sea turtles and not using straws.
Yeah. I actually did see a lot about that. One expert said, I can't remember his name, he said that most zoos are all about face. That what they present is like they're being treated nicely and they're healthy and everything like that. That's what they want to promote. But behind the scenes, that's not really true, because he did a study. He went undercover as like a zoo worker. I can't say that's true for all zoos, but I have heard of cases where that's just what they promote. Are there any other questions? Thank you.